Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Chris Hammond at Hammond Wealth Advisory, and this channel is really devoted to helping out people that are in retirement or getting close to retirement, say within 10 years or so, and they need help with planning, making sure they're making the right decision so that they know it's the correct thing to do when they do retire and leave their employer and start living some of the best days out of their life. And today's topic, we're going to talk about what is tax planning. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I did a video on what is financial planning, and tax planning is a part of that. But today we're going to jump a little bit deeper into what is tax planning. So first thing, let's just start it out by saying what it's not. And it's not preparing tax returns that you have to file every April to the IRS. That's called tax preparation. And, maybe somebody that does prepare your taxes, they may offer you some tax planning advice, but it's different. There's two different things going on there. Tax preparation is the very important service of making sure that we historically account at the end of the year all of the dollars that came in and that we owe to the IRS, and to make sure that we are taking all the legal deductions and things that we can do to minimize that in the tax preparation process. Tax planning takes more of a not just shorter term, but even a longer term perspective of minimizing taxes and putting a plan in place for the long term. So that's kind of what it is not. Now, a good definition, I found this on the Cornell Law School page, says tax planning is when a taxpayer makes use of the tax law to pay the least amount of taxes possible. Tax planning consists of the analysis of the taxpayer's financial situation in order to pay the lowest tax. Usually, tax planning consists in maintaining the taxpayer in a certain tax bracket in order to reduce the amount of taxes to be paid, which can be done by manipulating the timing of income, purchases, selecting retirement plans, and investing accordingly. Now, unlike tax evasion and fraud, tax planning is not unlawful. Tax planning is based on the controlling of payment arrangements with the aim of reducing the impact of one's finances. So you do have some flexibility when it comes to taxes and controlling how your income is counted. There's things you can do as far as like choosing to sell stock and realize a gain or even realize a loss, or choosing to do a Roth conversion, or choosing not to make a contribution to your traditional IRA. All of these are things that you can do that impact when the income that comes in ends up being counted for taxes. So that's kind of a good succinct definition of tax planning. Let's talk about some examples. So kind of like just thinking like short-term examples. When you're having your taxes prepared, you need to determine, does it make sense to itemize deductions or to take the standard deduction? Right now, as of the filming of this video, the Tax Cuts and Job Act is still in effect. And for most people, the standard deduction is so high that it makes sense to do that. In fact, itemizing deductions is now harder to do to justify making it a more beneficial strategy. But when you itemize deductions, that include things like charitable giving, that can include some of your mortgage interest. There's rules that apply to that. It can include some of your state taxes that you have to pay as well, like state income tax, things like that. So in some cases, itemizing deductions is the better way to go to lower your expenses in the short term, like immediately that year. Another thing that is often done on a short-term basis is determining which accounts to contribute your savings into. This would be things like an IRA, Roth IRA, health savings account, 401k, things like that. So for instance, just like kind of like a really basic example would be if you're in a really low tax bracket, it might make sense that year to put money into your Roth IRA because you don't get a tax deduction. And even if you did get a tax deduction, since you're in such a low tax bracket, it's not saving you that much money. So it might make sense to put the money into the Roth IRA, because then years and years down the road, when you retire, you'll pull all that money out tax free if you follow the rules. Whereas on the flip side, if you're in a higher tax bracket, it might make more sense to contribute more to like your IRA or 401k, because you get to reduce your income that's going to be subject to income tax by doing that. So making that determination is something that can be done over a short-term basis every year. It could also technically be part of a longer term example as well. If you kind of have an idea of what's going on with your business, and if you're say self-employed and you have a business, and you're going to be winding it down in the future and having your income go down, that might impact what your decisions you're going to make today on where you're going to put your additional savings. Some longer term examples might include things like investing tax efficiently. What I mean by this is that there's different types of accounts that are taxed differently under our tax law. So you have things like non-qualified accounts, which those are just kind of like your regular brokerage accounts. When they pay a dividend to you every year, you're gonna get a 1099 at the end of the year. Then you have to claim it as income and pay on it. Then you have things like your traditional IRA, where you get a tax deduction for the money that you put into it. But then when you pull the money out in retirement, you have to pay income tax on, you have to claim it as income, and then depending on what income tax bracket you're in, you're going to pay income tax on that. And then you also have things like Roth accounts, for instance, which when you put the money in, you've already paid tax on it, but when you pull it out, then it's all tax free. Now, investing tax efficiently would be taking a look at things like if you have municipal bonds where you don't have to pay federal income tax on them, it wouldn't really make all that much sense to put those inside of a Roth IRA that's a tax-free vehicle, right? You'd probably want to put that in a non-qualified account, for instance. Having a heavy amount of bonds that are paying interest all the time, or think something like a real estate investment trust that have to pay out the bulk of their earnings each year to you, the investor. And then you have to claim that as income. If it's in a non-qualified account, it might make more sense if those are in one of those qualified accounts, like an IRA or a Roth IRA. Or even taking it to the next level of thinking about your more aggressive assets that have that more growth potential so they can grow a lot, might make more sense to have those into a Roth IRA account, because whatever it grows to, that gain that it's gone up is all going to be tax-free if you follow the rules of how Roth IRAs work. So investing tax efficiently is a long-term tax planning strategy for where you put your investments and which accounts they need to go into. A lot of times people are constrained by, like if they don't have a lot in their Roth IRA, the only way you can get more in your Roth IRA is either making contributions, which are, not very high every year that you can legally put into a Roth IRA anyway, or doing a big an IRA that converts to a Roth IRA, so Roth IRA conversion. And sometimes that doesn't make sense to do that either. So sometimes you're constrained with what options you can have available to you on that. But in the best of all worlds, you'll want to allocate those assets in that based on the types of assets they are in the most appropriate types of accounts as far as how taxes work. Another longer term example might be Roth conversions. When do they make sense? When do they not make sense? The Cornell Law definition had mentioned one of the parts of tax planning is managing which tax bracket you're in without going over into the next higher marginal tax bracket. So a Roth conversion strategy might involve something like bracket bumping, where you just convert enough that when you add that and the income you already bring in, it just keeps you right before you jump into a higher tax bracket. That might be one option. If you're in a really high tax bracket right now, Roth conversions may not make sense unless you're very concerned that taxes are going to go up significantly in the future, which they could with a lot of the programs that we have, like Social Security, Medicare, things like that. Another longer term example would be avoiding indirect taxes. Indirect taxes would be things like IRMA. That would be when you have to pay your income hit a certain level, and there's different thresholds that cause you to pay more for your Medicare Part B premium and your Medicare Part D. That's a big deal. A lot of people don't want to have to pay more for the exact same health care in retirement, and a lot of times there's a 2-year delay on when that Medicare Part B premium actually hits. So you have to be careful about doing things that boost your income up even in retirement, for most of your retirees, that would probably involve taking your 401k and claiming some of it as income and by converting it to a Roth, or even if you just retired. This is a big one. If you just retired and you had your regular higher income that year and you retired and you ended up spending a lot or pulling a lot from your 401k after you retired and spent it. So what your income you already had for that year on top of what you did for pulling money out of it could then cause a 2-year effect that 2 years down the road, if you're on Medicare, might end up making you have to pay more for your Part B premium. Other indirect taxes, especially as it pertains to retirement, might include things that cause some of your Social Security benefits to be taxable. Up to 85% of your Social Security benefits can be subject to tax. And so if you can avoid that, that's great. For a lot of you folks out there that have pensions from your work, that's a really good thing to have. A lot of times when you have that pension and then you add Social Security on top of it, you're getting pretty close, probably already at getting a lot of your Social Security. You have to claim it as income. It's just kind of how it works out. So that's kind of some examples of tax planning. Now, one of the big takeaways is that tax planning, it can be complex. The tax code is complex and it's always changing. So for instance, right now, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act is in effect, but it's going to be twilighted out here in a few years. And when that happens, things are going to revert back to how they were before. They changed things in the tax code about penalties for missing your required minimum distribution on IRAs. Those have been changed. It used to be a 50% penalty for what you were supposed to take out but didn't. Now it's been dropped down. So things are always changing. And it's one of those issues, it's really one of those things where getting professional help to minimize taxes a lot of times is easier than just trying to learn all the tax code yourself, because there is a lot to that. So that's a bit of what tax planning is. That is one of the 5 pillars of retirement planning. Whenever I'm taking my client through a financial plan, tax planning is one of those pillars that has to be looked at. Keep in mind by following all the rules that they say, if you're able to minimize your taxes, that's more you get to keep, which means that's longer that your portfolio can last in retirement. Or conversely speaking, it may be the more you can save, maybe that means you don't have to save as much in order to feel comfortable to retire on any given age that you're wanting to retire. Because if you can save up the expense later on down the road, that's where tax planning comes in to help you out with that. All right, that's all I got for today. If you need any additional help or things about planning your retirement, head on over to retirementplanningmadeeasy.com. You can get a free copy of my essential step-by-step retirement guide. It's got some good worksheets in there that you can go through there and help you to get a handle on one of the most important things when it comes to retirement, is knowing what your cash flow is going to look like and your expenses and what type of retirement income, how much of it is going to cover those expenses, by having spots where you can do a little worksheet and put in your Social Security, things like that. That's all I got for today. I will see you guys on the next video.